What's the secret to painting figures? Hey, I'm Rusty Nelson, your college art professor. Let's find out. All right, so we're painting figures today, and I had this nice little reference of a girl running. So this is what we're doing today. We're painting figures. As to why figures are so tricky, it's just the human form. It's probably one of the more compound and complex things that you can choose to work with, and it just takes a lot of practice. That's the big secret, is you got to do it a lot and practice it a lot. So, and do I normally paint a lot of details? Depends. If the figure is off in the distance, there's not a lot of details that you have to paint. You just have to get the forms correct. And if it moves forward, it depends on the style. There's all sorts of contributing factors as to determine how much detail you paint. But a lot of times it's more suggested detail than actual detail. So I don't like to spend a lot of time and fussing on the details. As long as the figure, the pose, the action, everything reads right, we should be good. So let's give this a try. I am working with some simple Canson paper. I don't even have it taped down. It's going to wobble and wiggle all over the place probably. So I'll probably just hold down on it. It's not going to be any kind of a formal edge on it. I'm just going to kind of work on it. The reference material has really a plain neutral background, so that gives us a lot of flexibility as to what we can do when we interpret this subject matter. And I'm working with my Whiskey Painters, my little Whiskey Painters palette. It's a CMYK palette again, cyan, magenta, yellow. I did have a good question. Can you substitute any of these colors? Yeah, you can use a primary red, primary blue, a yellow, and then I also have a flat black over here. That's the K part, the key part. These are printing terms, offset printing terms. So you could also use, if you like, you can use flat black, or if you want a little more coolness to the black, use a Payne's gray, but you can always kind of inject the cool with your mixing here. So I like using the smaller, shorter number of colors in a palette, mainly because it forces you to practice your mixing and understand what colors mixing together creates what other colors. And then I've also supplemented in here, because I use this a lot of times with little landscapes and stuff, I supplement it with some earth tones. And actually these earth tones will be kind of handy because the reference that we're working with, it's very kind of earth tone colors on her skirt and her overcoat. And this should be something we can get going and have some fun with. So stage one, we're just going to kind of block in all the colors that we're going to be working with. I'm going to be working with a 3/4 inch flat. I've got a number 5 round, and I might go, let's see, I got a number 3 round and maybe go down to a number 1. So, all right, it's you know, where to start? You know, a lot of times I will just simply start with a simple background. And since it's kind of a rainy day, I'm going to just kind of get a kind of a neutral blue right there. All right, very thin. I don't need a lot of pigment in this, and I'm just going to kind of block in some of that in and around the figure, and just walk around real quick and give us a little something to work with. Right there, cool. All right, we'll just throw a little down under here. And I'm going to try to keep it as irregular. One of the problems I see students make is when they're doing something that doesn't have a defined edge is they tend to be way too symmetrical, and they create little halos around their subject matter. So we're going to try to avoid that. So we have a nice little neutral background. Throw it in here, and we might even just warm or cool it down just a little bit more, just for some color variation. I'm looking here, where would that look nice? Maybe right down here on the ground, right there. All right, so we just invented something that isn't even in the reference, right? And that's what you got to get used to, is just kind of taking creative liberties and do what feels right. So, all right, so that's drying, and by the time I get something with, since this is that fast Canson paper, I should be able to get something going. I think I'll start with this raw sienna. I'm sorry, that's yellow ochre. And I'm going to cool it down with some of that color we had right up there. Get that taupe-ish color, but I also want it to be a little more saturated than the photograph. I like, when I'm painting watercolors, I like my watercolors to look like watercolors, so having a little saturation to it doesn't hurt. I'm just going to come right in here, and it comes right along here. All right, right along that edge, that hand, right in there. I'm going to throw it right there on the hand as well, and I'm just going to block it in. Just get some color going there real quick. Quick, fast studies. If you're working live, you know, out on doing some plein air or something, trying to catch figures, you have to be pretty fast at this. All right, I'm going to get a little red into that. I want to get a little face color going there. So some, ooh, that's definitely red. And get some yellow going. My yellow's kind of gnarly right there. All right, so I got a nice face tone. I'll just drop that in there real quick. And we'll pull that right down along her chin. Get that back there. I'm going to unload my brush. Throw that right there like that. Boom. Unload my brush again. I'm just going to soften that up right there. All right, I'm going to throw a little bit of that onto the hands right here. Let everything kind of mix and meld. That's fine. Cool. I'll throw a little bit of it down here on her leg and right here. All right. Just letting everything kind of flow and do its thing. All right, I need a little more of this olive green right in here. I'm going to mix a little blue into that. Good. And get some yellow going. Okay, a little more. There we go. Kind of a brownish green. Here we go. Nice color right there. I'm going to thin it out a little bit. I'm just going to block. There we go. So we have a whole different color in a similar color range. It's the mid-range color for that dress, and we'll just block it in. And I'm going to try, we'll see, if I can leave some shapes in here and some various highlights that might come into play. Okay. There we go. We'll just kind of bounce around like that, pull it in, bring it around. Unload my brush again, and then I'm just going to feather a little bit. Knock down some of those highlights just a little bit. I still want to see them. Cool. All right, and I'm going to do that book is almost the same color, but I'm going to introduce a little more blue into it. And we'll throw that right up here on the book. There we go. Just get all these local colors kind of flowing. Again, work with as big a brush as you can. Cool. All right. And we have a very faint blue. If I can get it. There we go. I want to throw a little bit of that right there on her collar and the shirt right there. If I get a little movement between colors, that's okay. I got a big puddle, Mr. Bead, happening right there. I'm going to just lift that out, unload my brush, and then I'm going to get a little more of that brown, burnt sienna right there. Thin it out, and I should have taped things down. This is a fast little tutorial, so I didn't want to get too elaborate. So we're going to throw this in there. Cool. And we'll get this shoe right here. So now when I drew this, I sketched out the figure using the blocking method. So I really was looking at the shapes that are being created here. So we had these triangular shapes on the back side of this raincoat, on the dress, and drawing shoe shapes. And yeah, just did it that way. I didn't get elaborate. I tried to sketch it as lightly and as quickly as I could, and trying to match up the reference as close as I could in that method. I thought it turned out pretty good. I'm going to get a little bit of this. This is a very, very light mixture. I'm going to get a little more blue. There we go. And I want it right there for this little hat. All right, so it's going to be blue back here. I'm going to try to save a little highlight. I'm going to throw a little of the blue underneath right there and save that highlight edge. And there we go. All right, so next step, I might do a little bit of that blue on the lower portion of the sock and down here as well. Cool. All right, so we have color blocked everything, and the next step is to kind of come in and find the big shape, saturate it, and add in the structure. So I'm going to let that dry, and we'll get after it in just a second. All right, so we're ready for stage 2, and we're going to come in and we're going to start defining some of the folds on the dress, on the jacket, maybe find some of the shadows on the face and just start blocking in, get a little more saturation in the various spots that I think will make everything start to pop. So as soon as that's all done and wrapped up, we'll jump into phase 3 where we're really going to do a lot of the structure and the detail work. All right, here we go. Here we are, we're ready to start painting on this. I'm going to use my number 3 round, and it's going to start breaking in and getting some of the value ranges on the coat, get the wrinkles and stuff dusted in, and just intensify saturation where it needs to happen. And we'll see how this goes. Starting out, I think, with, I want to throw in, I think, some of the colors. I get a little of that orangish color from the face for this little jacket, this raincoat that she's wearing. All right, so we'll just kind of come in, and yeah, it's not quite the color that's in the photograph, but like I said, it doesn't matter because nobody's ever going to see. I'm going to tone that down just a little bit. Nobody's ever going to see that reference other than it's all on YouTube and Pinterest. So I'm just going to kind of block in and catch some of those basic shapes. Good. It's actually a better color. I like that color a little better. I'll throw a little bit in here like that. All right, and the underneath side of that fold right there. And we got all sorts of fun stuff happening in here. Okay. Cool. There we go. We'll just soften stuff out a little bit. We're getting just a little more complexity to the forms with this layer right there. I'm going to come back over. I'm going to get this darker green again. Get a little more burnt umber into it now. A little more blue. Yikes, that was scary. Let me bring it back up. There we go. All right, so right along this underneath edge of her arm, right in there, we'll just pull that in, create that shadow line. I don't like that. There we go. Okay, we'll throw a little more. There we go. That's a little more of a saturated feel that I was going for. Okay, I'm going to get all these little folds and things happening here. Just real quick, deft strokes, and we'll just kind of work this in. She's got a little tummy band right there, some things happening there. All right. All right, cool. Now we're cooking. A few more of those strokes right up there. Cool. I get it right along that book right there. We're going to have a shadow edge right on the underneath side of the book. All right, and then I'm just going to feather this out. Just get a little more of a tone to it. Same here, right in through here. Might even glaze a little more. Right up in here, just needs to have a little more of a color. A little more shade going on there. On the underneath side here, here, back here. Cool. All right, now we get some interesting shapes happening in through here. Some of those zigzags and puckers. Let's get another one. There's one that comes right off of the front of her tummy right there. There we go. Pull that down. Got another one coming around here like that. Cool. Let me get a little glaze again. I'll just kind of glaze it down in through here a little more in here, and right up under here. And we have a very dark shadow line right in through here, like that. Cool. So that's all working pretty nicely. And we'll get this on the back side of her leg. There we go. We got a nice little ripple right here. We'll throw that right there on the front side of her leg. Cool. That's looking good. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to get the front part of her boot. Comes back onto her heel right there. And we'll get a little bit of that shape right there. Can bring it up, bend it over. There we go. Quick little deft marks right there. We'll get this one too. Let's get this heel right here. Comes in and out and around. So you can see the values starting to define the shapes and the forms nicely. Throw a bit of that color back here, right in here. The deepest, darkest shadows, creating those shadow lines. Yeah, throw a few back up in here. That's looking good. Same color. All right, I'm going to throw a little bit on that shoulder and that arm as it comes down and around. We got some of those zigzags right in through here. Cool, really dark ones right there. I'm going to grab and get this dark spot right here. It's right up next to the lapel, right along the edge of the book. And like I said, we got some of those zigzags we'll deal with later. I'm going to get that little lapel right there. Get that. And that dark right under her chin. Right up under there. And the dark right behind. That's happening right under her ear. Cool. And then you can see her neck right there. Get another little swash right there. Yeah, now we're cooking. All right, I'm going to clean a little spot here for me. All right. And I'm going to get some of that red and yellow again. All right. All right, I'm going to throw a little more of that color right up under here. Comes right along outside that. I'm going to try to get it on the lips just right. So quick little couple of marks. Throw some of that right there up. Hang on. I want to rethink that right there. There we go. I want to feather this out. Pull it away. There we go. All right. So there's really pretty much phase 2. I'm just going to throw a little more tone right on the underneath the arm, right there, right in there, right back here. And I'll just kind of do some of that zigzag right in through here. Cool. All right, now for a quick study, this is where I'm going to come in. I'm going to start getting some of my darker colors, thicker, darker colors, and we'll just start really coming after the detail. So we'll get that thumb. We got fingers, 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 and knuckles, fingers around there. There we go. Like I said, you really are just kind of suggesting the detail. You get the contrast and the structure lines in just the right spot, and then let the eye do a lot of the work. Throw a little dark right there, right up under there. We got the socks right there. Okay, so cool, that's working. I get the little bit of a lip right there. Same drill here. Just come around. Let me get those socks going here. There we go, just really quick. Just has to read just right. Throw that. All right. Just going to kind of keep working around. Uh-oh. That was another 4-finger stumble. All right, let's fix it. All right, remember, the way to fix something like that is lots and lots of water. I haven't probably shown that in a while, but you got to be careful, especially on this fast paper, this cheaper paper. It isn't as robust as as the good papers. So you can really start pilling stuff real easily if you're not careful. So there we go. So the four-finger disaster has been avoided. And we're going to keep working, developing all of our suggested details. Got a really dark one right there, right there. All right, now we're cooking. Okay. Get another one back here. Cool. That's coming along. And get this shoulder. Her shoulder comes right up over here like that. There we go. She got that little pucker right back there. All right, now I'm going to get that eye. Her eye is right up here. I can get it just right. I'm going to put the eye right there. I'm going to bend it around just a little bit. There we go. All right, get that forehead, get the nose. There we go. And I'll put a little nostril right there. Just going to suggest it. And we're going to put a little bit of darkness right there on the lip. And we'll just get a little more of that reddish color. It's dark, but I need to use it just to define the chin, just a couple of marks. There we go. And we'll get her ear going right there. All right, now let's get a little more of that blue. It's going to be a deep, dark, dense blue, but I want it back there as that color on the top of the hat. Okay. As I define it. And throw it right there. Good. And we'll throw it right under there too. All right. How we doing? 30 minutes in. We're doing pretty good. Like I said, I could fuss with these things forever and just keep working with them, building these complexities, shapes and forms and dark crevices. That's looking pretty good. All right, I'm just going to come in, I'm going to throw a little glaze in here. Just in this darker area. Like that. That looks pretty good. Throw a little bit back over here. And right along in this spot right there. All right. And And I'm going to mix up a little of that red and yellow again. I'll throw a bunch of it right in there on her leg. Right over here. And I'm going to throw a little more of it right back up here. And then we'll just pull it down, let it kind of flow. All right, so I'm just going to throw a little more color glaze on the back there. And look at that, I made a mess. All right, I need to get the book. And I need to get these little strands. Good. So, this is the kind of thing, and this is the secret weapon. This is the big trick. You've got to just sit down and do these daily. Practice your skills. Everything will get better as you practice it. It's going to look more and more natural every time you sit down and do it. You're going to start developing styles that aren't necessarily photographically realistic, but that's okay. You see kind of a yellow in there. I'm going to get a real thin yellow. Just going to throw a little bit of a yellow on the sock as well. There we go. All right. And so I'm going to grab a little bit of that red and yellow right there. We got that neutral gray out there. We could even just kind of brush in some color. Maybe accentuate the motion, the action, feather it out, lighten it up. Oh, I know one thing I forgot. I'm also going to fix, I'm going to get a little more of this burnt sienna, a little more of that red right there. I'm mixing in my little mini tray. I'm going to throw a little of that complexities right on top of that shoe, back here, right in through here, just to get a little more depth to it. Boom. All right. And I'm going to throw just a little bit right there, maybe on that side of the hand. There. So there you go. That's a fast little figure study with a couple of boo-boos I had to fix. Oh, sorry. There we go. And one last little thing. I'm going to grab that color in there, get a little of this. It's very thin. I don't need a lot. I'm just going to come in. I'm going to pop in a shadow. And I'm going to fix this little boo-boo. Let's fix that little sucker. Remember, just add water. All right. It's dirty water too. Isn't that icky? I'm just going to soften this up. Fix my little problem there. I just unloaded my brush. Okay. So there we go. Throw a little bit right back here too. All right. I want to throw a little bit of that. I keep finding stuff. We'll throw a little bit of that blue right on that underneath side. And I'm going to just I'm going to lift a little pigment right there on her leg, just for a little form. Just like that. There we go. All right, there's a quick little study of a girl in rain gear running for cover. So it's a fun little shape, a lot of flowing aspects to it, a lot of motion and action. And it's just a really good practice. You'll find any kind of reference you can do, build those basic shapes, create the form, the figure, and then just add in the watercolor and just really loosen up and develop your chops on color mixing, application, detail, structure. All that stuff comes into play if you just do these quick little studies. So, hey, I hope this little tutorial, this little demo was helpful. And if it was, please give me a like and a subscribe. Share that out to your friends, relatives, and neighbors. If you need more resource material, head over into the video description. It'll kick you over to my website. You can download Loomis and Bridgman figure drawing and portrait drawing resources, and I think there's some Riley method sketching stuff out there as well. And let me think here, if you think I'm doing anything worth a hoot on this channel, doing these free tutorials and demos, pretty much the same stuff I show my college students up at the university every semester when we're doing these things, give me a $5 a month membership on Patreon. And if you need some more additional structure, a little more help, more ideas as what to do to progress from beginner to intermediate, I have out on Gumroad, links in the description, a 15-week calendar of exercises and projects that you can do tied to the videos I've already done on this channel. So you get to have a full tour of all my early videos as I was getting started on YouTube. If you get this download, click on that. Every lesson in there is stuff I would have covered in my classes, and I'm still working to kind of flesh all of that out, so I have covered everything that I would cover up at the university in one of my university level courses. So get out there and buy that. I truly do appreciate your support, and I really do appreciate you watching. So I'll see you in the next demo.